Hello, my name is Jacqueline Roberts, and this is my case study for EDL 853, when a student's rights are wronged. So first I want to summarize what we know. This takes place at Nottingham High School. It is a relatively large high school with 3,200 students in a small district. It is the only high school in the district. However, the community is very collaborative and very supportive and has a strong community. The school was built in the 1950s and has since been mostly brought up to code to accommodate students with disabilities. Tragically, the sophomore star quarterback of the football team, Miguel Hernandez, becomes paralyzed from the waist down during a football game. Before Miguel's return to school, his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, meet with the high school counselor, Miss Gussman. It was determined that Miguel would return to school as soon as the physician gave permission. Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez also stated to Miss Gussman that Miguel would be in a wheelchair, but other than needing access to classrooms, he wouldn't need any other accommodations. So Miguel returned to school 2 weeks later. His first day, he was welcomed back with an assembly in his honor. And then in his first period class, Miss Gussman called Miguel into a meeting with her. In this meeting, Miss Gussman informed him that his biology classroom did not have wheelchair accessibility and so therefore would no longer be enrolled in biology, but another science class that would satisfy graduation requirements instead. The very next day, Mrs. Hernandez, sounding upset, requests a meeting with me. Mrs. Hernandez comes in that afternoon and expresses the following concerns. She first asks, why has Miguel been denied access to his biology class? Second, she asks why she and Mr. Hernandez were not informed of this change. And thirdly, she says that Miguel's original schedule is to be immediately restored. The biology class is in fact a required course for a university Miguel plans to attend. Before the meeting ends, Mr. Hernandez then arrives with Mr. Howard Carey and announces himself as Miguel's attorney. He states, "Are you familiar with Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973? Do you understand the implications of denying my client access to a classroom at this school? My client has the right to free and appropriate public education. He needs specific services, and these include access to the biology class and anything else we deem necessary to ensure that Miguel's rights are protected." So there are certainly some legal and ethical issues here. Miguel has been harmed by the actions of Ms. Gussman for rearranging his schedule without any communication or discussion. Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act has been violated. In fact, Section 504 works with the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, as well as the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, to protect children and adults with disabilities from exclusion and unequal treatment in schools, jobs, and the community. Miguel has been clearly excluded and treated unfairly because of his disability. So in one sentence, so far we know that changes in Miguel's schedule without any discussion demonstrate a violation of his rights as a student with disabilities. There still are some unknown facts. This includes wondering, was anyone else involved in making this decision besides Ms. Gussman? Could the biology classroom be moved to a wheelchair accessible room? What construction could be done to make the current classroom wheelchair accessible? And when would construction be completed? As far as the program, what could be done in the meantime to ensure that Miguel does not miss any more biology instruction? And what processes were not followed or maybe not in place when making these decisions? However, here's what we know. First, this involves Miguel, his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, his attorney, Howard Carey, Ms. Gussman, the school counselor, myself, principal, and then we also know that Dr. Harvey is the superintendent. the place. So this is the only high school in the district. And we do know that renovations have taken place to update the school building, but due to lack of funding, approximately a quarter of the building is original from the 1950s and is not ADA compliant. The program, we do know it is a public high school with 3,200 students. So as principal, I want to assume positive intent. I don't want to assume that Ms. Gussman made these changes in spite or for bad reasons. However, the situation is damaging specifically to Miguel and his family, but also to the moral and ethical reputation of the school and relationship with the community. How this situation is handled sets the precedent for how we accommodate students with disabilities in the future. I certainly need to have a conversation with Ms. Gussman. However, enough information is known to start taking corrective action. So I've developed 3 options. Option 1 is to take no action. Simply move along, business as usual. Option 2 is more of a top-down approach where I immediately put Ms. Gussman on a performance improvement plan. Option 3 involves a lot of various steps. First, determine temporary solution to getting Miguel back in biology the next day. So this could mean perhaps that he accesses the class remotely via computer, laptop, and video. Perhaps this is me meeting with the facilities manager to discuss temporary options to allow wheelchair access, such as a temporary ramp. This would also involve contacting whoever necessary, the superintendent, the district contracted construction company, financial officer, etc., to implement a permanent solution for the school building accessibility. Personally own up to missteps. There should have been processes that ensured that Miguel's needs were met. Next, this would involve having a conversation with Ms. Gussman. Additionally, option 3 would involve me continually communicating with Miguel, his parents, and staff immediately affected by next steps. This would also involve training staff on IDEA and FAPE. Staff needs to know, our legal responsibilities. And then collaboratively with the SPED team, counselors, and other staff and teacher leaders, develop a process for ensuring appropriate implementation of accommodations for students with disabilities. And then also ensure that Miguel gets a 504 plan. So if we take a look at the pros and cons, option 1, I truly don't see any pros. The cons would be that legal action is certainly going to be taken against the school, which is going to cost the school district lots of money, as well as it's going to have a big negative effect on the school's moral and ethical reputation. Option 1 could also cost me my job because I'm definitely not meeting laws. Option 2, the pros, that Ms. Gussman would likely not take the same actions again if she was put on a performance improvement plan. The cons of this top-down approach would that it really sets the precedent for a negative rapport with staff. If staff around the building see that they make one wrong move and I immediately put them on a performance plan, that just doesn't build good relationships. Option 3, the pros, is that it really puts students first. We want to meet Miguel's needs. We want to meet all students' needs. Additionally, it's more of a long-term sustainable change. And option 3 demonstrates humility as well as collaboration. The cons is that not all problems will be solved immediately. This isn't something that's going to fix itself overnight. It will take time. However, the best option is certainly option 3. It is thorough. It starts small. It fixes the immediate issue with Miguel's accessibility, then works to solve school processes and procedures. So it starts small and gets bigger. And then I just want to remember to assume positive intent and own up to my missteps. So to implement this decision, I would first confirm temporary solution to get Miguel back in biology immediately. That would be step one. Second, solidify plans to implement a permanent solution for the school building accessibility. Third, communicate. Communicate with all stakeholders, including Ms. Gussman, Miguel, Miguel's parents, and staff, and also own up to missteps. Fourth, ensure that Miguel gets a 504 plan and follow through, making sure that it is actually being taken into account. Fifth, train staff on ADL and FAPE. We definitely want to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future, so we want to best equip staff with the information that they need. Sixth, collaborate to develop a process for ensuring appropriate implementation of accommodations for students with disabilities. If any of these steps fail, I would want to reach out to peers and superiors for assistance. Thanks for listening.